Okay, those of you that are, we're going to go ahead and get this training started. We are so excited. First of all, I want to welcome everybody in the room and those of you that are joining us live via our Facebook stream. This morning we're going to be introducing for the first time what Angie Hawthorne from our corporate office said, basically an epic training. Those of you that have never heard about Global Rescue Direct or have not heard of Total Care, you are in for one of the greatest introductions of a product, of a service that is revolutionary. Those of you that are in the room today, I'd like to tell you the restrooms are right outside to your right-hand side. If I could ask you right now to please silence your cell phones so that we don't have any interruptions or dings or any Facebook messages, so we know where all of our friends are, whether we want to or not. And I want you to feel confident enough to write down every single question as we go through the presentation. There will be people coming in and out. I'm hoping that they'll just take seats at the back of the room because we do not want to disrupt the training that you're about to get. I feel so honored and blessed to have the opportunity to have a gentleman in the room that has made a very, very, very measurable and definable difference in my life over the last 6 weeks to 2 months since we have been launched. The president of Global Rescue Direct, Mr. Doug Robinson, is going to convey to you some of the information that he conveyed to me. One day I called him and we had the opportunity to be on a Houston radio station, and it was up and coming. And you have to understand, like many of you in the room and many of you live with us on Facebook, I didn't really fully understand what I had my hands on, but I knew I had my hands on something. Okay, have any of you ever been in that predicament? Okay, you know that you know that you know, but you don't know what you don't know. So I asked for a bit of Doug's time, and he was so gracious to share that with me. And I thought, my gosh, the people have got to understand what we have our hands on. And in doing so, he spent about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes with me. And I can tell you right now that it is so deep inside of my gut that my total prayer and hope for you today, whether you're live or whether you're remote, it doesn't matter. I want you to have so many takeaways that you can grab our hands and help take this message to a world that every day they're advertising freely for us, are they not? Never before has healthcare been on the forefront, and we get free advertisement every day. So by the conclusion of this, with the compilation of Doug Robinson's message, his knowledge, 25 years in the belly of the beast. Okay, this man spent 25 years understanding what's going on in America. And I'm going to let him tell his story, because once you understand how the partnership between Doug and the founder of Global Rescue happened, it was a no-brainer. So without further ado, I would love to have the opportunity and the pleasure of bringing up Global Rescue Direct's president, Mr. Doug Robinson.
Okay. Thanks, Denise, and welcome everyone. I should probably clarify, when Denise said I spent 25 years in the belly of the beast, that was the beast of healthcare, not just the U.S. But I've spent my entire career, for all intents and purposes, trying to get an understanding around what's really happening in our healthcare system. So I worked for years as a strategist, a consultant with companies like PricewaterhouseCoopers, Deloitte Consulting, working with the Fortune 500 typically, understanding how they bring their benefits, their healthcare to their employees. And keep in mind, over the last 30 years or so, that's been a tall challenge, let's just put it that way. Understanding healthcare and managing it, first from a cost standpoint, but also from a benefit offering standpoint. In fact, when then candidate Clinton, and I should clarify that was Bill Clinton, stumping for the White House in 1992, he made reforming healthcare his #1 domestic issue. Think about that. 25 years ago, apparently healthcare came on the scene by a candidate who ultimately won the White House, stumping for the outright reform of healthcare. Many of us at that time were saying to ourselves, what's wrong with healthcare, right? Why does it need to be reformed? And obviously what was on the table then, and ultimately it didn't happen, was a government-run single-payer system. That's really where then candidate Clinton and ultimately President Bill Clinton wanted to take things, but it ultimately didn't happen. But what it did is it started the dialogue in a very profound way. Think back, as I look around this room, and I'm sure the people watching remotely, think back 25 or 30 years ago in your careers and where you were at that time. If you were employed, you were typically getting your health care coverage through your employer. And what started to happen about that time is a giant cost shift started to take place between the employers and the employees, all in an attempt to continue to offer health care coverage that was affordable, that they could still bring forth to you. But the cost shift was rather subtle early on, typically 25 to 30 years ago. I have to apologize, I've got like this head cold and my voice, I hope, stays with me throughout this session. I've got some orange juice here. But this cost shift was underway, and typically what happened back then, employers were offering, if you were a single employee or if you were a family, didn't quite matter. They were going to cover your benefits, and typically nearly 100%. And when you actually did receive care, it was quite rich in terms of the way we would define that term. Very low deductibles. Think back of deductibles that were like $100 or $200 annually. Okay, that is a pipe dream in today's realities. But that's what it was, and then we started having co-insurance, things like 90-10. The employer or the plan would pay 90%, you would pay 10%, things like that. And over the last 25 to 30 years, that has profoundly shifted to you as an employee. And heaven forbid if you should be married or have dependents, you were going to be on your own for whatever costs were associated with your dependents. So really trying to understand what's going on with healthcare. And here we are, fast forward 25 years, we're days removed from an historic election by anyone's account, okay? And healthcare reform was yet again at the forefront of the dialogue. And then candidate Trump, now President-elect Trump, stumped for months saying he was going to repeal and replace, he uses the term Obamacare. I actually like the actual term, the Affordable Care Act, because it's anything but affordable, okay? But I'll go with Obamacare. He was going to repeal and replace. And oftentimes I would ask, replace with what? And we rarely got definition around that. Only a few weeks ago, just before the election, did candidate Trump say it was going to be replaced with HSAs, health savings accounts. Well, I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we have health savings accounts, and that is not a way to replace Obamacare. But my point is, healthcare is and has been broken for a number of years, and we as individuals, we as citizens, we as the end users of healthcare are the ones who have been disenfranchised, okay? So what is it about healthcare here in the United States? We consume about, from a total all-in infrastructure spend standpoint, $4 trillion a year in healthcare. That's 20% of our gross domestic product, okay? It is a behemoth of a system, a healthcare system. I use that term, I should probably use the air quotes around it, because we actually have numerous systems. Here in a city like Dallas and in Fort Worth, there are numerous hospital systems that are all duplicative. They all basically bring the same services to the community that it serves, and there's a lot of duplication. With that duplication comes cost. But we've also had a mindset in America for years and years and years, and I would challenge all of you to think back to even a recent doctor visit you might have had face-to-face with your doctor, where certain tests might be suggested or prescriptions prescribed. If you had the audacity to challenge the physician and say, what is the sense of having that test? Or is there an order that I should go about having these tests? Or, better yet, what does that test cost? If any of you have had that experience, I would suggest you might have heard back, don't you have insurance? As if, why would you care if there's a test or prescription or a regimen that is being suggested? And what I would like to suggest is that we should be caring. We should be asking these questions as responsible consumers of healthcare. There was a study recently by Harvard University looking at the onset, now that we've had some technological gains, around the term virtual healthcare. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Global Rescue Direct has a service that I think, but then again I am biased, but I think is second to none in the virtual healthcare space. We call it Total Care. Okay? Virtual healthcare is what it would suggest as a name. You don't have to necessarily be in front of your physician to receive care, to receive a consultation. Now, Harvard went about a study recently, just a couple years ago, at the onslaught of virtual type healthcare type services. And they worked with two different employers, Rent-A-Center and Home Depot. And they took a representative example of the employees of both those companies, very large companies, and they took several hundred. In fact, I think in Home Depot's case, it was over 1,000. It was like 1,300 employees that were representative of the overall mix of employees. So age, sex, demographic, health status, family status, what have you. And they gave them a virtual healthcare program. And I would suggest, I don't know this for a fact, but I've looked at the results of that study, and I would suggest that they also coached those employees very, very well, that whenever something arises that you otherwise would have gone off to the emergency room, urgent care center, or your doctor's office, don't do that now. Call this 800 number. Call it first, so long as it's not a life-threatening emergency. But anything shy of that, call. Well, fascinating results from this study. 92% of the time, in both Rent-A-Center as well as Home Depot, 92% of the time when people called, whatever they were calling about could be handled virtually. They never had to present themselves to the doctor's office. Said another way, 8% of the time, they did need to be referred on to an urgent care center, emergency room, or the doctor's office for some face-to-face care and follow-up. That's fascinating. In one of my former companies, when I was with PricewaterhouseCoopers, we did a study of our clients, and again, they were typically the Fortune 500, largest of large employers. We looked at their claims experience every single year to understand what was happening with the claims and the utilization and the mindset of consumers, people like all of us, year in and year out. And what we typically came up with, and these are studies dating back to the late mid-90s, really, on into, they still perform this study every single year through to the present. They find between 50 and 75% of everything that we consume as healthcare consumers really wasn't necessary. You didn't need to go to that doctor visit. You didn't even have to have that test or that prescription or what have you. And typically the litmus test is when you have something done, if you don't have an appreciable difference or an outcome, you're not getting better, you're not up and around, about quicker, then it likely wasn't necessary. That's why it's 50 to 75%. When you take a $4 trillion system and cut out even 10%, 20%, you start to get up to that 50%, now we're talking some real dollars. Real dollars from an opportunity standpoint. So what I'd like to do this morning, very, very quickly, is try to boil down as quickly as I can, what is when you think of a $4 trillion system, and for years we've heard, again, back to the 1992 presidential election, how broken healthcare is. Stop and ask yourself, and I think you probably have, if not many times over these years, what is it about healthcare that is broken? Okay? Because I would suggest it is still the best healthcare system in the world, bar none. In fact, one of the, some of you may have heard me say this before in previous different meetings, but I love history, especially 20th century history, because so much changed in the world over the 20th century. And when you look at an iconic figure like Winston Churchill and how he, as Prime Minister of England, led that part of the world and specifically the United Kingdom through the ravages of World War II. And if you just try to even imagine what he was dealing with on a daily basis, well, we all know how that ended up. The United powers around the US and the UK and all these others beat back Nazism and fascism. And shortly after the war ended, Winston Churchill was interviewed by a reporter, and the question went like this to the Prime Minister. Obviously, democracy just prevailed over fascism and Nazism and communism and what have you. What can you say about that form of government? And with very little hesitation, Winston Churchill said quite literally, it's the worst form of government except all others. Okay? And if you think about that quote, it's incredibly profound. Well, I'm going to borrow his quote and give him credit many years after he's passed on, and now turn it towards the U.S. healthcare system. You probably know where I'm going with this. I think it is the worst form of healthcare across this great world except all other forms of healthcare. Okay, it is broken. But what is it that's broken? Basically, I think it's three things. Access to the system. Clearly it's broken. And I'll give you some statistics here shortly. Once you're in the system and you're now in front of the providers and you're going through the process of receiving health care, the quality of the care that we're receiving, if I were to go around this room and ask all of you how you define quality, not just as it relates to health care, but the cars you drive, the furniture you buy and consume and sit in, your appliances, you would have an idea of what high quality really is. Now think for a moment of your healthcare experience of late. And would you define the same way that that's high quality? I would suggest probably not. And then last but certainly not least, the third element that I think is absolutely broken in healthcare is the cost. Okay? The cost of care. Not only is it high today, and it's been high for many, many years, but it's going higher at a rate that's two things. Unacceptable, but also unsustainable. In the 15 years between 2001 and the present, healthcare costs have tripled. Okay? I would suggest that's absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Well, healthcare costs are really a function, and again, most people, and I would suggest probably many, if not all of you that are here, either today or throughout your working careers, received your health care through your employer. That's a very good thing. Culturally, here in the U.S., that's kind of, coming out of World War II, since I was just mentioning that about Winston Churchill, employers in the U.S. were looking for ways to honor their returning veterans. And one thing that they came up with was offering benefits. As an employer, we're going to provide you health care. And so that started in the mid-1940s. And it's continued through to the present. But as I just said a moment ago, even in these last 15 years, costs have tripled. When I was in the healthcare consulting area, working closely with these largest of large employers, costs were doubling every 5 to 6 years. Each of my clients typically spent then, and this is many years ago in some instances, $1 billion plus a year for their 70,000 or 100,000 employees in the U.S. And so when that doubles every 5 to 6 years, you start having airplane manufacturers who might be known as an airplane manufacturer, but really what they were in business to do was to provide their employees health care benefits because it was matching their corporate profits. Okay? Very, very interesting. But access to the system, quality once you're in the system, and cost. Clearly, in my opinion, when you look at a $4 trillion system, those are the three areas that we need to work on. Okay? Let me show you some quick statistics, and I'm going to try to make this relevant. From hopefully everyone in the back can read that. I'm going to try to make this relevant not only to our discussion this morning, but to really what's happened in the U.S. in the last 5 days since the election. And some of the things around reforming health care and repealing and replacing Obamacare, or as I said, my favorite term, the Affordable Care Act. So this slide would suggest that our healthcare system is broken and it's getting worse. First, with respect to access. When you try to get into your primary care physician, it typically takes nearly 3 weeks in a general sense, regardless of whether you're here in Texas or in California or in Connecticut. Regardless of where you are throughout the country, it takes 19 and a half days, typically on average, to get in to see your primary care physician. Regardless of what is ailing you, I would suggest that's convoluted, okay? Once you're there, after that nearly 3-week wait, you're there almost 2 full hours. Okay, 1 minute shot, or excuse me, 1 minute in excess of 2 hours, 121 minutes on average. And then here's the crazy part. Of those 121 minutes, 8 of them are spent in front of the physician. The rest of the time, you're just in the doctor's office. Well, most people, okay, I'll speak for myself, but I would suggest most people don't have 2 hours to waste. Because that is a waste in my mind. Okay, not the 8 minutes. I'll give that credit to the physician and the system itself. But the rest of the time, we're far busier than that. We shouldn't put up with that. And this is what it has become, okay? Over these last 2 to 3 decades, it's gotten this bad, up to nearly 3 weeks to get into the doctor. 2 hours once you're there, 8 minutes in front of the physician. So access, absolutely convoluted. How about the cost? Okay, as I said earlier, 71% of ER visits are flat out unnecessary. Okay? An emergency room visit, on average, once you're there, costs $1,300. And an urgent care visit or a primary care physician visit actually averages about $150. Okay? I would suggest when someone presents themselves in a capitalistic system, and I am a capitalist, pure and simple, through and through, but when you walk through the door of an emergency room, do they see a sick patient necessarily walking through the door? Maybe. What they also see is a business opportunity to spend what will become $1,300. Because again, back to what I said earlier, don't you have insurance? The misnomer is that insurance pays for this. You're sick, you're presenting, it's late at night, it might be middle of the afternoon, it doesn't really matter. If you present yourself at an emergency room, they're going to spend money on you. They're going to run a battery of tests to find out exactly what is going on. Unless it's quite obvious what's going on, a broken wrist or something like that. But if you just have stomach cramps or migraine headache or what, you're going to have a battery of tests. And partly that is due to the litigious society that we live in. Okay, these physicians and those hospital systems, they want to make sure that they've covered all their bases. Because as a litigious society, if someone were to leave, and God forbid something actually happens or manifests beyond what was detected in that visit, they're likely to turn around and sue the hospital or sue the physician or what have you. So there's an awful lot that is done in a defensive manner to cover their bases, the physicians, the providers, and what have you. But as consumers, it's important for us to understand what's going on in the system. Okay? These costs are real. They're 2015, 2016 cost basis. Those data points around how long it takes to get into the physician, those are very, very real. Access, quality, and cost, I would suggest, are very broken. I'll come back to this in a minute because I really kind of want to lay the groundwork for some things here. So if we look at this slide here, typically in a given year, a family of 4 will consume or will use 12 primary care physician visits or urgent care visits, or a combination thereof, 12 for a family of 4. In that same year, they'll have 2 emergency room visits. Okay? Think back to your own circumstances. If you've got kids, these are quite believable in terms of these statistics. How many times you would end up at a doctor's office or at an emergency room. Well, using the numbers that I used earlier, $1,300 for an ER visit, $150 on average for a PCP or an urgent care visit, that adds up to $4,400 spent that year in a typical year for that family of 4. And what I'm suggesting here is those costs are not covered by your insurance anymore. Because unlike in the early 90s, when our deductibles were $100 or $200, they're not that anymore. In the silver plan on the Affordable Care Act, deductibles are averaging about $6,000 currently. So in a year where this family went 12 times to the urgent care or the primary care physician and another 2 times to an emergency room, that $4,400 didn't even hit the $6,000 deductible. So for all intents and purposes, what I would suggest is you're self-insuring yourself. Okay? Now, under Global Rescue Total Care, and I know Denise is going to get into this more throughout the day in the details of this virtual healthcare offering. Basically what we have, and I'll get back to that Harvard study where it was 92% of things could be handled virtually, 8% not. The cultural transformation that needs to take place for our services, we call it total care, for it to be effective, other than in life-threatening situations, we want to be the first call you make. That is not a simple statement to make or to think that it's going to be easily adopted. Because what we have going against us is cultural momentum. People don't think of calling this new service first. When something happens, especially if you have children, bam, you're off to the urgent care or emergency room or what have you. We've got to think differently if we hope to change this. Because when we rush off to that emergency room, they're going to spend $1,300 on average on us. We just walk through the door and we are a business opportunity for them. Okay? I don't mean to sound so cold and crass, but that's really what's happening in the healthcare system and has been happening for years. If you can make that cultural shift and start making that very first phone call, 24/7, 365, to our medical professionals who are standing by 24/7, 365 virtually, we can knock out a lot of savings in a given year. Back to all those studies, including the Harvard study. Things can be done virtually that you don't even have to present. So no more 19 and a half days to wait for an appointment. It's 2 rings away. Okay, our goal is to answer on the 2nd or 3rd ring, our intake team, 24/7, 365. And they'll hook you up immediately with our nurse practitioners, EMTs, paramedics, and physicians. Okay, we're going to listen to what's going on with you right then and there. And I would suggest all across the spectrum of various different studies, 50, 60, 70, up to the Harvard study of 92% of the intakes can be actually handled virtually. Okay? Healthcare costs are a function, and I said this earlier, but let me repeat, they're a function of utilization. So if you never present yourself in the setting of either an urgent care center or an emergency room, you won't have a claim. Okay? Hopefully that's brutally clear. You won't have a claim. And depending upon what plan, and we have a number of different plans, and I think, again, Denise, you're probably going to get into this later today. Those urgent care consults through our total care will either be covered in full as a part of the plan itself, or $45 per occurrence. Okay? Far less than experiencing these costs over here. So, again, let me try to put things in perspective. Do we have that I can put in front of this again?
Of course, Sean.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you, Sean.
That way you don't see the light in my face and I don't look like a zebra. Putting things in perspective of repeal and replace. What's in my mind, what's really going to happen now that we've got a president-elect, Donald Trump, who has, again, made it very, very clear that he's intending to repeal and replace. Well, if you read the papers yesterday or even this morning, there's even some waffling, like there's some things about Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, that he kind of likes and that he would like to keep. Well, one of them, there's 2 things really. One of them is the pre-existing condition clauses. Okay? He thinks, as the Affordable Care Act did, it did away with pre-existing conditions. He likes that. I would agree. I think that's great. Let me be clear. That doesn't mean you have to keep the Affordable Care Act or parts of the Affordable Care Act to preserve that. Whatever you replace with, just make that one of your stipulations. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, the other one is, and I'm a little indifferent on this as a father of 6 now adult children living throughout the country, the other aspect of the Affordable Care Act that he likes is that dependent children can stay on their parents' plan until 26 years of age. Okay? I don't want to get too political here, or you can probably tell from my facial expressions, and my kids might even be watching this at some point, but they all know brutally clear where I stand on this. I think, just a window into my philosophy with my family, we'll get you through college, and then you are on your own, and you need to be on your own. And none of my kids got out of college at 26 years of age. They were much younger than that. But it's important to get out there and be productive and what have you, as opposed to being on your parents' plan. So I think when you encourage people and make the eligibility elongated, you're going to have more people on the plan. More people on the plan incur more costs. That raises things up for everyone. Okay. The other thing, and this is going to be kind of interesting to grasp, but when the Affordable Care Act was put in several years ago, and when the conversations were brewing around not only that law, which became law, but even all the way back to 1992, we always heard these astronomical numbers of 30 million, 40 million, 50 million uninsured people. And we were led to believe, quite literally, that these are people that they were the most unfortunate in our societies. They lived under bridges and what have you. I'm here to tell you, half of that number are working people with a plan offered to them by their employer that they personally chose not to enroll in, which, guess what, is their right. They have that right. Now, keep in mind, employers have shifted costs to employees, so it's no longer paid for in full by employers. Employees would have to pick a portion of that, right? Well, the 50 million people that were uninsured, and again, I'll do it with air quotes, at a given point in time, just a few years back in the lead up to the Affordable Care Act passing, 25 million of those people worked, had gainful employment, jobs, good jobs, healthcare benefits provided to them, and they literally elected not to cover themselves. Now, some of them I like to refer to as the Superman effect. They're young, they're healthy, they've never been sick before. I'd like a fishing boat or a big screen television or whatever it is that their budget might be better spent than healthcare. What happened with the stroke of the pen on the Affordable Care Act was that all of us are now going to pick up those 25 million people. So it's not a surprise to me whatsoever that what happened in rather short order, only a couple of years with the Affordable Care Act, it actually is crashing and burning in front of our eyes in a number of ways. But from an economic standpoint, it was so clear what was going to happen to me as a student of all things, macroeconomics as it relates to healthcare. This was never going to be sustainable. And so here we are. So how do we pick up the pieces? I don't have the answer to that. As I said, our newly elected president, his last statement around what replace means is HSAs. We already have HSAs. That's not the replacement. There are a number of proposals that have been bantered around from the House and the Senate over these last few years that I'm sure will be considered. But here is my point. It will take a while. It might even be in the most aggressive of circumstances, if it's the first 100 days of Donald Trump's presidency, where he literally says, with the stroke of a pen, we're repealing and now we're going to replace with something, it's going to be chaos. Okay? I'm here to tell you, it's going to be chaos. But let's think for a moment, let's kind of pipe dream, if you will, that maybe it is in those first 100 days, with the stroke of the pen, we repeal and replace with an incredible plan. And I'll just stop there. Whatever that means, an incredible plan. Do you think cost, I'll go in inverse order, quality and access are going to change as a result of this new plan? No. The costs are what they are. There's a number of things that can be done, and there are initiatives in play to try to drive costs down, the actual root costs. But it's not going to happen overnight. Your emergency room visit's not going to go from an average of $1,300 today to $500 a year from now. It's not going to happen. The quality when you're in front of your physician for those 8 minutes after you've been there for 2 hours, is a new law passed in Washington, D.C. going to change that? Not necessarily. Okay? So I'm here to tell you, and this is not about doom and gloom. That's not who I am. I am forever an optimist. But I'm also a realist. And we have this opportunity in front of us to change the way we go about healthcare. That's where virtual healthcare comes into play. Why now? Okay? Well, hopefully what we've already established is our healthcare system is broken. It's not going to get fixed anytime soon. The costs are out of sight. The quality is unacceptable. Okay? But also technology comes into play. We've got technology. Most of us, I would suggest, throughout this room, have a smartphone. I'm looking around the tables. They're all real close to you. They're always at the ready. I just recently, and I was sharing this earlier, I'm one of the last 5 people on the planet that had a BlackBerry. And I changed my BlackBerry to a new iPhone only about a month ago. So now I'm into the modern world myself. But with the smartphone technology, we basically have at our fingertips a tool where we have the access to high quality healthcare 24/7, 365. From the comforts of our home, when something is bothering us, we hit the button for that app. And almost instantaneously, you're connected with a world-class healthcare team of people that have years and years of experience, whether it's on EMT crews, hospital emergency rooms, where whatever presents itself, you don't quite know what's going to come through that door, but they're there to help. Okay? And not just verbally, but you can even video consult with our medical operations team if need be, if that helps. So they can see what's going on with your body. Okay? That is something that's relatively new because of the technology. So not only are we having a system of healthcare that's basically crashing and burning around us, but we've got technology that is caught up. And now we've crossed the hurdles to be able to provide these services across the country, state by state. Because one of the things that's interesting by a legal and legislative standpoint here in the U.S. is that we are one country, but we're 50 different states. And we operate very differently from a healthcare standpoint, from a regulatory standpoint, state by state by state. So there were an awful lot of hurdles that needed to be crossed by our company, which we've done to be able to provide these virtual healthcare services state by state by state. Now, there's one state, it's Arkansas, that does not recognize virtual healthcare. Nothing to do with global rescue. It's all about virtual healthcare. They're not recognizing yet. So no virtual healthcare company, ours included, can offer its services in Arkansas today. I would suggest they're probably going to come into the fold sometime soon, okay, when all the other states are recognizing the virtues of virtual healthcare. I've got to think, and I don't know anyone in the powers, if you will, in Arkansas, but I'm hoping that they have, rational thought and understand logic, and they'll probably come into the fold as well.
They were a red state.
Pardon me?
I said they were a red state.
Yeah. So, for all intents and purposes, wherever you are, 24/7, 365, you can call us. And if that Harvard study is valid, and I think it is, and all the other studies that I've talked about where very, very high percentages of things that present themselves from a healthcare standpoint can be handled virtually, I would suggest that your access is going to be second to none. Because you're in the comfort of your home. You're not getting in your car. You're not shuffling kids with one sick child and others that aren't. Middle of the night, whatever. We all know the scenarios are too many to list. You can simply hit the app and you're in touch with our medical professionals. That's access. That's not convoluted access. The quality of the care, as I said earlier, that's up to you to define. What was that interaction like with our medical professionals? Did you get the follow-on care and the follow-up care needed to make you feel better that what you called about was actually taken care of? And then from a cost standpoint, again, it's cost avoidance. In the Home Depot and Rent-A-Center example in that Harvard study, 92% of the time, they never presented themselves, so there was no claim. Well, here's the real big picture. when you avoid costs to that degree, healthcare is a function of utilization and costs going forward. So if we can drive down that utilization as profoundly as I think we can, going forward costs year over year can't help but come down as well. So I think we're on to something. Is it the solution? It's a solution. There are other things, as I suggested earlier. Tort reform. And again, hopefully with a new president, a new perspective, we'll get some tort reform. We haven't had that in the healthcare system. Tort reform is really all about defensive medicine. It's the trial lawyer lobby that has been very, very strong and powerful to beat back any tort reform. So what's really being done so often in healthcare, are things being done unnecessarily. But they're being done for defensive purposes. And again, I'm not here to blame those physicians and those clinics and those hospitals for doing what they do. Number one, it's a revenue opportunity, but number two, given the litigious society that we live in, they don't want to get turned around and sued right out of business. They just don't. So it's a system that hasn't been working together. We haven't been smart about it. Well, we're at a point, and I would suggest this very strongly, we're at an inflection point. Not just because there was an election a few days ago, but this cannot be sustained much longer. In fact, conspiracy theorists would even suggest that the Affordable Care Act was a stepping stone to a single-payer system. Okay? That was the plan all along. Let it implode to the point that it has, so that we have to have a single-payer system. Well, again, you can probably tell from my voice inflection and facial expressions, I don't think I necessarily agree with that, because I don't think the government is in a good position to really run our healthcare system. Just look at the VA. Okay? But we're at an inflection point, so the timing couldn't be better. Okay? The need is really there. The service is there. The technology is there. And now there's this opportunity through this company called Global Rescue Direct to arm an army of entrepreneurs, people like yourselves, to go out and talk to your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, individuals and companies alike. Because as I said, I didn't use this number, but I'll use it now. 55% of people in America today get their health care through their employer, more than half. Okay? Whether that's a small, medium, or large size employer, I'm here to tell you, they're all struggling with health care. Every one of them. I don't see a single head nodding left to right. Everyone's agreeing. Everyone is struggling with health care. That's why it's been so prominent for 30 years now, nearly 30 years, even on the political front. But no one has done anything about it. Okay? So we have quite simply said at Global Rescue and Global Rescue Direct, enough is enough. And I'll repeat myself. This is not the solution. It's a solution. It's a good solution. It's a good move in the right direction. But it's not the be-all, end-all. It's not that silver bullet. But it can take us an awfully long ways. And I would suggest, and I'd love to hear throughout the day, throughout these next couple hours when we're together, various different anecdotes and stories and what have you, when you talk about healthcare, one-on-one or even with an employer. These issues around access, quality, and cost are really what's paramount. So I think we're on to something, absolutely. Today, these next couple hours are all about business training. I wanted to frame things and tee things up around the state of healthcare and how necessarily 4 days ago it didn't change. Yes, we have a new president-elect. We're still going to have chaos in some period of time going forward. That is no reason to stand still and stand back and be complacent. In fact, quite the contrary. I think it's time to put our foot to the floor and have more and more conversations with individuals and employers around what's going on with healthcare and how we have a solution. So thank you very much. Looking forward to being here throughout the morning and hearing more from all of you. Thank you.
So now, can you kind of begin to see why I thought, my gosh, if he can just begin to educate, because at the end of the day, what I know is people do nothing until they understand. Okay, they'll stand back and analysis by paralysis will set in. They do not move forward. They can't. I've heard it said, but there are 3 people in the room that tell me this, and every day I hear, I don't know what to say. I've got people I want to talk to, but I don't know what to say. Okay? So before we move forward, the training that he just presented, I want to ask, how many people, and I know those of you joining us live can't really see what I'm talking about, but how many of you in here have used the Total Care Service? Raise your hand. Oh, fantastic. There's 3 stories. Okay, now I'm going to put you on the spot. Come on up here. Come on. And what I would ask of you, seriously, you do not have to get personal because these are medical experiences. I don't ask for that. But I want you to sum it up, if you would, in 1 to 1.5 minutes, your experience about the quality, the cost, and the access. And so if you guys would be genuine, come on up here, Linda. This is Linda Hanks out of Forney, Texas. And tell us what it was like for you, because you're first.
Oh yeah, I was the first. I've actually used it twice. The first time we got in before it actually launched, and I had been bitten by a brown recluse spider. It was a week and a half before we actually launched, and so I called my PCP to see if I could get in for her to look at it. She could see me the day after we launch. So I told her no. I said, I have this app. I'm going to use it when it goes live. So I pushed the button, and they're like, okay, can you send us pictures? Sorry. Can you send us pictures? And I'm like, sure. And he was assessed and said, what does it look like? How long has it been? And I said, I have pictures from 3 days and from today, which was a week and a half later. I sent him up, and he goes, I'm going to send these to the doctor, and I'll call you right back. Within 15 minutes, I had a phone call with home remedies. He emailed to me saying it was definitely a brown recluse spider bite and that I was doing a good job on my own taking care of it, but to do these other things, and it cleared up in 2 more weeks. It went from a little pimple to about a silver dollar size, black, and now it's just a little scar. And they followed up with me 5 days. And the follow-up was great because there's something about me. I've had brain surgery 3 times. I've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for doctors. Never once did they call me after I went home to see if I woke up. But I got on a spider bite 5 times from Global Rescue Direct.
Talk about your sinus infection.
Sinus infection. Oh, sorry. Sinus infection. We were on our way to Vegas to the ribbon cutting. And I'd gotten a sinus infection, and so I pushed the app, and they're like, well, when do you leave? And I'm like, well, we're about to leave. So they said, when do you land? And I told them what time I land. Once we landed, 10 minutes after we landed, they called me. Jimmy's renting a car. I'm on the phone with Global Rescue. They're assessing me about 20 minutes of my medical history. I get in the car, and they hook me up teleconference with the doctor. She's looking down my throat, up my nose, making me do this. And the next thing I know, we were arriving at our hotel. A prescription had been called in 4 miles from my hotel, which I had no clue where any pharmacies were. They looked it up for me. Got my prescription, got back to the hotel, took it, and I was out to dinner with friends. It's that quick, that easy. Followed up with me 3 days on that one.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, Linda, so much. Thank you so much. I love her story because it's a natural remedy and it's also a prescriptive remedy. Okay? Your story is very powerful. Thank you, sweetheart. Come on up here, Rick. Your turn.
Hi, I'm Rick Bella. I'm from Waco. I also was involved in the pre-launch. Very, very excited about the opportunity, but was hoping for someone to get sick in my family. Anyway, I have a younger daughter. She's 17, and when I introduced the program to her, she looked at me like I had 3 heads. But she's asthmatic, and we have a history of issues with her, which is actually outgrowing. But this past Monday, it was drizzling, it was cooling off, but she was demonstrating symptoms of what would ultimately become a sinus infection. So I said, I have to be home from school to pick up and a package of clothing and then go back. And I said, you're not getting any better because she was coughing. So we hit the button, and as Linda just indicated, I mean, the call was answered within 2 rings, 3 rings. Was visiting immediately with, I guess, a PA, maybe a physician's assistant, who retrieved a lot of information from us about her history. And he said, we'll call you back within a couple, 3 minutes. And I was looking at my watch because I was not critical, but I was really wanting to following up on how this service worked. And within 90 seconds, we got the second call. And he patched us in with a physician who was in New Hampshire. I cannot remember her name. And my daughter was right there, and of course, she asked to take a look at her throat. And long story short, called in a prescription for a Z-Pack and offered cough medicine, albuterol, and it was extremely efficient. They couldn't have been any kinder on the phone and understanding. And again, as Linda indicated, I was myself more impressed with the fact that they followed up twice afterward. They told us when they were going to call her back, and they followed up with my daughter actually. And it was just an extremely impressive experience for me, and I couldn't be happier.
That's awesome, Rick. That's so valuable because with this changing of the seasons, asthmatics, it's a big thing down here in Texas, okay? Or probably across America,
Sure.
but that is awesome, Rick. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
certainly.
for having the courage to come
You
up
bet.
here on a split second and tell me. Come on up here, Chad.
Okay, I'm Chuck Wilson. I'm also from Waco, and I was up in the Panhandle about 3.5 weeks ago. On the 6-hour drive back from Childress, I could really start to feel it coming in. Cough, congestion, feeling sluggish, the whole thing, and made it back home. Slept it off, I thought. Got up the next morning, went into my office, and I just said, I'm not getting any better on this. And I thought about the fact that I'd have to go not very far down the street to the doctor, but I'd sit in the waiting room with everybody else coughing and sneezing, and I'd have to go through the usual wait there. And so I hit the button, and actually I hit the wrong button. Because I thought the contact us was for technical support and stuff on the app. I hit the emergency button, and I got a little note back in the app that said because I had put in my symptoms, and so they said, "Is this a real emergency?" And I think his name was David, came on, and he said, "This isn't really an emergency, is it?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, next time just hit the bottom button. You don't have to come in because those top button calls go directly into the operations center." And he said, "Those are for real emergencies." I said, "Okay." But he did the same thing. Since it was early on, I had some information in the app on my background, but he took more details, symptoms, etc. Said, "Give me 10 minutes and I'll get back on with the doctor." And I think it was about 7 because he had to find someone available at the time, and it was Dr. Drake, I believe it is, out of New Hampshire. She did the same thing, went down through all of my symptoms, and I even said, "I'm thinking a Z-Pack," but she said, "Well, I need to hear you cough," so she could hear me wheezing on the phone, and she said, "I need to take a look at your throat, get over by the lamp and, put the phone up and let me see." And she even complimented on how well I did that, by the way. And lo and behold, she said, "Give it 30 minutes. I'm going to call in a Z-Pack to your pharmacy, but give them 30 minutes because I have to file this and then it goes electronically. And so just, don't go rushing over there right away." Well, it took me 25 minutes to get there anyway, so I just got in the car and went. And when I walked in, the pharmacist was waving it at me saying, "I got it." And at the same time, I said, well, while I'm here, can I pick up the other prescriptions that my doctor called in last week? And he said, they haven't gotten back to us yet. So this was actually faster than my doctor's office. Nothing against them because they get overloaded with that stuff, naturally. But and again, unbelievably impressed because Dr. Drake said, okay, when should we call you back? You want me to call you back tomorrow? I said, no, give me till Wednesday. Give me another day, because we'll let it kind of clear. Called me back then on the dot, and as a matter of fact, then they offered to call me again if I needed it, and I said, no, I'm really on the road to recovery here. So
Chuck,
altogether, great.
let me tell you something, brother. I'm going to make millions off of your story. I hope those of you across America heard that, because was that not huge? That was huge. Thank you so
Well,
much
thank
for
you.
having the courage to come up here impromptu. I appreciate
Well,
your story. It's
thank
very
you.
valuable. Thank you,
Oh,
Chuck.
Rick, what are you doing now?
Denise, I need to share with y'all that, when I was in Waco on Monday, it was probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was drizzling, it was raining, and normally we would have gone, we would have tried to get into the primary care physician, which, as Doug indicated earlier, I mean, that's 9-10 days.
Of course.
Easily. So to have that experience of it, I mean, we were taken care of in 15 minutes.
Taken care of in 15 minutes. That's what I'm talking about
Yeah.
right there. Busy schedules, prepared, on their game, and you just exemplified that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just like Doug talked about, access. Did he not? The doctors are overloaded. Why? We're presenting unnecessary things in unnecessary environments. Okay? So thank you again,
Thank you.
Chuck. Appreciate your time. Okay. You can't buy those stories. I really am taken back. That is so awesome, and I'm not kidding you when I tell you I will make millions off of those stories. And you guys, like Doug emphasized, tap the app. That is going to be the single biggest behavioral change that we're going to have to go through. I'm speeding past a few slides here as we begin the training phase of this. And I want to first of all kind of go back and tell you and introduce myself. My name is Denise Stevens. I've been in the wonderful multi-level marketing, network marketing industry going on 17 years. What did I see here? Number one, I've lived a life that most people can only imagine. Okay, and that doesn't come along very often. What I saw on June the 21st, when I got a phone call from a friend of mine, when he said, he was talking to Lloyd, and Lloyd said, Denise, this is going to be huge. Lloyd had to tell me 3 times, this is going to be huge. Go back and do my thing. Go back in the kitchen.
For her to get her married.
You're such a funny boy, guys. Don't listen to her. Second time, whatever, Lloyd, I'm busy. 3rd time, Denise, this is going to be huge. All right, he's got 2 minutes, Lloyd. I'm going to give him 2 minutes. That's all I've got. I'm busy. Go to the table. Hey, what's going on, Brad? He said, you've heard of Uber, right? And I said, yes, I have. He said, we're on the verge of Uberizing access to U.S. healthcare. What's it cost to get in? I don't know. Where do I sign up? That honestly is exactly the words I've said. Okay, now, why do I say that? Because when I sit and I listen to what Doug Robinson says, I didn't know that then. I know that I made one of the biggest decisions of my life to make the biggest difference in people's life. And because I'm about making a difference before I make a dollar, put me up to the plate. Put me in, coach. Okay? To see those 3 stories that just walked across this Texas stage, meeting number 1 in Global Rescue Direct, and to realize that we made a difference in those 3 people's lives within 15 to 20 minutes total. Okay, we just have to get smart with how we do this. We just have to learn how to say it, okay? How many of you, as I go through this, how many of you today would not know how to open up the conversation with somebody about total care? How many would not know how to start? Exactly.
Everybody's
Sam,
different. You approach
everybody.
each person differently.
Okay. Oh, no, not really.
Well,
Okay, good try.
I said I have tried
I'm just playing with
different
him.
things.
He's such a champion. I love to play with him. But I want you, as I start right here with the force field, I want you to envision, you know those big silver trash can lids that were aluminum back in the day? I'm probably dating myself. I know I look 21, but I'm not the same, Mark. But you've got a trash can in front of you. And when you go to battle, you've got to understand we're going against big insurance and big government, right? Okay? This is not going to be some kitty cat nicey game, as we saw in the election that just occurred. Okay? It's got to be game on. I was so jazzed to know that I've got a solution with a service that can be handled through free enterprise. We're going to solve it. Okay? We solve the problems in our country. We cannot depend on the government, as the VA sees, as the post office sees. Why are UPS and FedEx even in business? Because of the poor service by a government-run industry. I'm not anti-government. We have the greatest country in the world, okay? But that shield that stands in front of Denise, there's nobody in our country, and the world for that matter, that does not maybe need or know someone that needs what I have my hands on, okay? They just don't know about it. So, I'm going to introduce to you what I call my force field, okay? Force field. What is force field? I know that I am partnered with Partners Healthcare, Elite Medical Care, which is a Harvard, anybody? They're not the dumbest kids on the block, okay? Okay? As well as Hopkins, Johns Hopkins, ranked number 1 the last 23 of 25 years. Number 1. This is against all of the potential hospitals in the world. That's who's got my back when the need arises, when Linda has a sinus infection landing in Las Vegas, when an asthma attack sets in and timing is of the essence, okay? We've chased down over asthma. We've gone to fire departments quickly to go get help for my daughter. So I get the asthma game. There's no time to play, okay? 24/7, 365, anytime, anywhere, and global. Just saying, with 3 of our 4 memberships, global. Leave the United States, you got your doctor on your phone. You see? Take it with you, okay? We already have 1+ million clients. This is not a new game for global rescue. Total care is simple in America compared to where some of these things have been happening in the world. On the side of a mountain where lives are at risk. In the jungle where the big beasts are that are way bigger than you and I. Tough situations, okay? And those 12 years of experience. To me, you know, this is all new to us, but what's powerful about this to me is that as I wear that armor, is that 12 years of experience they have overcome everything that the big insurance companies are just kind of embedding in their service to try to help you get in there so they can reroute you into their system. Because remember, it is a business opportunity. And that embedded fee far outweighs what we pay with total care. Okay? Because it's not free. And it's not $10 or $20 or $30 or $40. It's your premium plus that fee. Okay? So that force field, guys, when you're out in the market talking to people, you just know they've got your back. Once you realize, I will promise you, okay, of the well over probably 200, maybe 300 people that we have talked to, everything lies within that circle. Every defense that I need, it's not really a defense, I'm on the offense. I know my enemy going in. I know what their questions are going to be. And that's what I'm going to try to convey to you all, because we need champions that are going to get up and help us get this message to the world as fast as we can. Because like Doug said brilliantly, when we the people rise and start making a difference in what their earning potential is, that old theory that we were taught in Economics 101, the course we all hated, supply and demand. When we are impacting their pocket, it is amazing how much more negotiable they are on the rates and the prices. Would I be wrong? Okay? It drives everything. Years ago, I paid for a Cabbage Patch doll $200 just because I wanted my son, who was a college football player who could kill me today, for buying him, Zach, the Cabbage Patch doll. But you see those things today, you can walk into Target for $19.99, supply and demand, okay? So we have a service that I want you to see yourself with that silver trash can lid. You're going to battle. We got to know our enemy, okay? Now I want to switch gears and help you understand the power of your why. At the end of what I do, my why, your why must outweigh your how for you to ever get out of the starting blocks. Here's my why, and I'll show them to you in a minute. I want to make a difference before I make a dollar. So if I can do that, and I can impact your life and your family's life, save you money, you can make money with me if you want, or you don't have to. I'm going into detail on that. I can save your family money and redistribute those costs in a way that help put shoes on children's feet, food in cabinets, help families begin to sustain themselves. It is a win, win, win. I win, my consumer wins, and so does Global Rescue Direct. That's what I talk about a victory, okay? So, he who has a why can endure anyhow. And what I found fascinating about this is that philosopher, he states that the courage to take risks is needed to ever get ahead, okay? This is why we have such a paralyzing situation in our country today, where people cannot see, they don't have a why. They don't know what they're living for. I'm not saying that everybody's why is 100% Global Rescue Direct, but your why at the end of the day has to be your why. Why would you want to help? Why would you want to get in to do what you do? We all have passions, okay? Staying motivated when the chips are down. Lloyd and I were, this past weekend, when we got the call back in June, our boat stayed parked all summer long. And those of you that know me, that's like a cardinal sin. In the summer in Texas, the girls got to be in the water. I love the water, okay? My boat did not move all summer, not all summer. It stayed parked. And our place at the lake was looking like it was abandoned, okay? We were out washing the side of our RV, and I said to Lloyd, we were on the last stretch of it, I said, you know what, honey? I hate doing this. I said, but you know what? Do we not have so much hope just knowing what we have our hands on here and nobody knows about it? That's what I saw, hope. I'm hope for people financially. I'm hope for people from a service perspective. I'm hope. There's my why. That's why I do this. Because I can go make a whole lot of money writing software. Okay, I can do that. But you know what? I did that until I left Northrop Grumman Corporation in 2001. I was part of the B-2 stealth bomber team. I engineered a revolutionary system that they took from Northrop and sold to McDonnell Douglas and to Boeing. It was called the Manufacturing Execution System. It re-engineered the way they do business. They forgot to mail me a check the last 16 years. It's the weirdest thing ever. Okay? So I say all of that to say, I could go work anywhere, but it is unbelievable because my why at the end of the day, I want to move my life onto a new, challenging, and rewarding trajectory. That's what I want. I want to leave the world being significant and not live a life of existence. That's what I wanted. The most important story to tell and to be connected to is the story of why you do what you do. That's how I do my business. My story, as you're going to see, is embedded, and I'm going to teach you to do that too. Because remember, big government, big insurance, they don't care about your why. I've got so many examples that run through my head. They don't care. At the end of the day, it's about a bottom dollar. Okay? Not me. I want to be a solution. Instead of a salesman, I'm a solutionman. Okay? What is your purpose? The purpose creates a cause that gets within you, that becomes a belief so deep that nobody can take you down. That's where I am. When I spent my hour plus with Doug Robinson, and I asked him, I said, Doug, I won't share what you're candidly talking to me about, but can I please just record what you're saying so that I can get it in me and I can understand it and I can do it over and over and over and listen to it over and over so that as I take this new thing to the market, I can understand how it can be a win for them, okay? There's my line, right there, Isabel and Charlie. So that when Mimi and Bebop I'll get there, are no longer here, Izzy and Charlie can continue the message because we're always going to need health care. Let me give you an example. A week ago, Lloyd's got Isabel, the oldest one, sitting in his lap in a chair, and she looks at him and says, "Bebop, how many people's lives have you helped today?" That's what I'm talking about. Whether she wants to do this or not is not important. But to have the values to understand, to make a difference before you make a dollar, because all the other needs will be taken care of. But that's our why. So many of you may not understand your why right now, and that's okay. Okay? But I promise you, within each one of us, there is a why so deep. I was so sick 16 years ago of our lives being hindered because we worked for a government subcontractor. Lloyd out there, me out there, our lives were always on hold, dependent upon Congress. Okay? Are we going to get this defense project? Are we going to get this? Well, here we are, both of us at the same place. I've got 3 children. I got to focus on how we can go build something we can build and help others do the same. And by making a big enough difference in their life, I will be paid over and over and over, and not until that point. Okay? So that why, it becomes a drive within you. In some of your cases, it may be to have a retirement, unlike the little man that helped us at a great barbecue restaurant last night, drove for yellow truck lines, and he cannot afford to retire, so he's the greeter at a barbecue place. He's not doing that for fun, because he can hardly walk. Okay? He's doing it out of necessity. This industry is so incredibly powerful because it makes a difference in people's lives. Okay? I want to introduce to you now the tools that I go into my business. Remember, I've got my force field, I've got my shield with me. I've got to understand the tools that I have in my back pocket, okay, at all times. I've got to understand if I'm going to build a house, okay, if I'm going to build a group or build an organization or build a team, whatever I'm building, I've got to use the right tool at the right time. Because to take only my pliers to go put together the frame of a house, I've got a real issue, okay? I've got to have my hammer, my saw, my pliers, and whatever other tools, those of you that are handy at doing that, okay? We all have a toolbox. I just want you to vehemently understand the tools that are sitting in your toolbox and the biggest ones that are right up underneath your nose, okay? Number 1, your customized script containing your story. I will get to that. I will teach that, okay? Your body metrics device. This device right here is a tool in our toolbox. Linda, you don't have to worry about it. You all will. And you can take pictures if you want, but you're going to all have access to this. It's being recorded. I'll get to that in just a moment. And also you can have the presentation. Because it's about, I want you to have what I have. It's what I do. The body metrics device is huge. To know that this is the triage device that every nurse uses, or PA, whoever in the doctor's office, when you walk in, this is what they're getting. Okay, they're getting your O2 levels, they're getting your blood pressure, they're getting your heart rate. This is your device right here. Okay, it does every bit of that. 3-way calls are also, let me explain to you a 3-way call. A 3-way call is the way you get taught, you are learning, okay? Because I guarantee you, if Donald Trump would sit across from me to teach me business, I would be there and shut up. Or wouldn't all love all the yeses, okay? Teach me. You've done it. I'm going to listen. I would challenge each of you. Beat me up. Beat me up. Okay? Use me. It is not about Denise, it is about experience, as is the council that is with Global Rescue Direct. It's many years of doing the same thing. We are just a little bit better because we've done it a little bit longer. While you are developing, a 3-way call is profound. Many things that many people are doing and saying are not generating the results that they're looking for because they are saying too much. Okay? Guys, it is so awesome, and it is It's phenomenal. When you can take someone, I'll give you a specific example of a lawyer that is coming in as a GBO. I didn't start off there. As a GBO, a global business owner, on Tuesday. There's a reason for his delay. Talk to him, an insurance agent sent him to me. And this insurance agent, I have no idea who he is. He randomly called me. Why? Aren't y'all getting a bunch of calls if you have health care? Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. From all these calls because open season, as I call it, kind of like open season, right? Is upon us. So this man calls and we get to talking. I talked to him for 1 hour, this insurance agent. He said, I love everything you're saying. He said, maybe we can do some trading off. I said, maybe so. I said, at the end of the day, I'm not so sure that I'm not trying to be your enemy, but I don't want you to perceive me as your enemy because I really want to minimize how much money people are spending on actual claims. I really want to maximize the access and the quality of the care they're getting. So I get a phone call from a gentleman on Thursday. He is an attorney out of Florida paying $683 a month for his health care. His wife is a non-U.S. citizen going through the immigration process right now from Croatia. We get to talking, and within minutes, on the other end, he's doing this. That is a universal language, is it not? Okay, when you all do that to me, I know that you're understanding me. If I get a bunch of, I know I'm not hitting it and you're not really comprehending it, okay? Three-way calls are just that. And I'm going to jump down here to, I don't think I have a Zoom meeting. I thought I had a Zoom meeting.
It's right above
Okay,
it.
it's above that.
It's right above it.
Thank you. I thought I had, how did I miss that? Zoom is a piece of virtual software that I use because guess what? I'm building a home-based business. The days of running the roads all over creation are so minimized with a Zoom meeting, okay? They are, Christy's nodding her head, that is exactly how Christy and Mark are in this room, a Zoom meeting, okay? It just makes sense to people, okay? I put on my lipstick and she put on hers and we were the cutest things you could see, and I'm just telling you, who knows what I had on, okay? I slipped on a shirt and wore my shorts, who knows? Phenomenal. Okay, that's taking y'all are laughing because you know I'm telling you the truth, okay? But these are tools, okay, using them. Business cards. I like a business card because I want to leave that in the hands of somebody. Everything I'm telling you, you don't have to do it my way. I have a real passion for building the best dressed, most professional people in this industry because it doesn't get the level of respect that it deserves. I've been home 16 years, okay? Are you hearing me? Okay, this is what I'm trying to convey. If that's what you want, I'm going to help you go get it. So I'm going to give you the tools that I use. My business cards get in the hands of everyone. I'll show you in a moment how I use them. The sales sheets. These are another tool that our awesome company gives us. These are available to every single one of you in your back office. Okay, it gives some of the statistics that Doug did a great job of explaining. It's a great handout. I will tell you, me personally, the only time I really leave these are like when I do a business setting, okay, when I'm in a business, okay, I don't hand these out to everybody I go. It's just a waste of money, okay, and guess where it's going to go? In their purse, and then get it out in a few weeks ago, trash. Telling you that I'm just real, okay? The 30-slide PowerPoint presentation, which is in the back of your office, I need to do a whole training on that, and we will. Not today, but once you get that, it is a click, click, click. That is going to help you further internalize it. Doug did some of the slides in it. Once you can see it over and over, guys, it tells the story. It becomes a no-brainer. It is so professional. I will promise you this, I will commit to another training. If it's virtual, we'll do a training on that, okay? Because I want you to really understand that PowerPoint presentation is most optimally used in a business environment, okay? In an environment where it's more professional. For example, we just did it in a physician's office on Tuesday, okay? It's where I take that information. If you're in your home, it's also another very good idea. We've used it during pre-launch, very similar. We didn't have it as optimized as we do today, but that's where we started, was it not? Okay? We want to come off as professional. I do not want you embarrassed, nor do I want to be embarrassed at anything we're doing here. It is so profound, okay? Digital brochure. The company, as you become a GBO, you get a digital brochure that looks something like this. I have another confession to make with you. I've never used it. That's Denise, okay? I've never used it, but it doesn't mean that it's a bad product. It can help some people learn how to talk. You guys are going to be, those of you that are on Facebook and those of you that are in this room are going to be talking parrots. It's amazing, okay? Because I'm going to teach you to talk. I'm going to invest the time. This was not going to pull in a physician's office. And Christy across Arlington, I'm not getting in my car and driving it across Arlington to put it into Christy's hands. Or Florida, Boca Raton, Florida. I'm going to mail you a brochure that will tell you everything about us. You should get it by Tuesday of next week. No. You see, now. It is a now time. That iPhone is now business, okay? Zoom is now. Hold on a minute. Hold on just a minute. I can't even remember his name without looking on my sheet because I don't know him. I believe it was Harold. Hold on just a second, Harold. I'm going to send you a quick link. Are you guys near your computer? Yeah, we are. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Never left my house. 30 minutes later, a man I don't have a clue who was referred by somebody I have no clue. I'm in. Do you think that you could come to my law firm? Oh, probably. I'm just saying. I can probably work that out. You see what I'm saying? Because of what I'm going to teach you in a moment. I want the tools have got to be conveyed. Bifold brochures, beautifully presented. Once again, we put our business card on the back. Nothing gets out of my hands without my information on it. Do not let it out. This is another reason, either a nice printed label or a business card on the back. We're back to professionalism, right? If we want to be treated professionally, we must look professionally. I'll tell you a funny, Sandra knows this to be the truth because she's been the champion that's done the kind of the behind the scenes work in the doctor's office. She and I kind of scheming, you know, this little multi-level marketing thing we have going on. Well, and I'm joking when I say that because I teach from the heart. But I lost my train of thought. It'll come back around. Okay. But anyway, the bifold brochures, nothing gets out of my hands. These are great. Confession number 2, I've never used them before. Okay? Eyeball to eyeball, kneecap to kneecap, heart to heart. That's how I do business. Social media, my favorite. Once again, Mark and Chrissy, if I may, I went to high school with Mark. Craziest guy you've ever seen. Love him to death. Have for many years. Puts out a plea for help. Insurance is going up. Facebook, simple message. Simple message. Mark calls me. Christy and I and Mark are on the phone. We arrange for a time for a Zoom meeting, and then I get real and just show them. Here's where you are. Here's where you could be, and we go from there. Okay? So social media. Global Rescue Direct has Facebook Live events. Those of you that are on with us on Facebook Live, you're using the tool. How do you access those events? Number 1, that is a training all in itself as well. Social media. Emily Robinson at the company does a stellar job of facilitating a lot of this. Be okay with not understanding Facebook. Totally. I've got to tell you, I've been in software engineering for 35 years and I don't use it totally. Lloyd keeps up with somewhat what's going on and says, Denise, we need to talk to this person. We need to talk to this person. Okay? We can work with you to help school you up a little bit, but Emily Robinson does a beautiful job. Get connected to the Global Rescue Direct their page. Okay? And like them by hitting the like button, and follow them by hitting the follow button. When you do that, you will get notification that they're having a live training, okay? We have a couple of more of these happening in Tucson and Jacksonville, Florida next week, okay? So you can like and you can follow them and you'll be notified. If you can join in, great. Every leader in Global Rescue Direct has a little bit different perspective as you will as well. You're valuable. You're good enough. You can do it if we can get the mechanics. Do you really care whether you're dealing with a guy that is a left-hand carpenter or a right-hand carpenter as long as you get the house built the way you want it? No. Okay, we all have different gifts. Vimeo, the quality of the stories, if you have not been to Global Rescue Direct's Vimeo.com /Global Rescue, go listen to some of their stories. They've done a brilliant job. You'll find Linda Hanks, both of her stories out there. You're going to find stories of the illnesses that were occurring before we had total care, okay, and how they solved so many of them. A plethora of stories are out there. What does watching those do for you, the global business owner? That gives you stories as you're out into the market, okay? Just like when Chuck told his story, and he said he went to pick up his prescription that Global Rescue prescribed in 30 minutes, and he had ordered his prescription, or his physician had ordered it how many days ahead? It wasn't ready. That's what I'm talking about, okay? Those are stories. That one's in my head, okay? Linda Hanks' story. I repeat it. I tell her, I'm going to make millions on your story, girlfriend. Get out here with me. I hope you'll do the same, all right? Why do I know that to be a fact and an undeniable fact? Because in my former life, in this industry, a lot of people make a lot of money off of my story. I see some heads bobbing, okay? So, tell your stories, all right? And then the YouTube channel. We have a mobile app. There are 2 mobile apps that you will download on your phone. I don't know if you're like me. I'm not going to take the time to set it up to show my iPhone on the screen, which I could do, but we happen to have we put everything on one screen, on one page, and I know those of you long distance cannot see it. I'll try to get it so you don't have just a glare on you. I'll stand back here a little bit. We put everything on one page. All of my global rescue tools and services are on one page, one screen. That way I can get to everything on demand. I don't have to go through and see, oh gosh, where's my camera? Oh my heck, where's my social media? Where's my Facebook page? Where's this? Where's that? It's all right here. It's centrally located. And I'm so committed to you guys, those of you that want to hang around, I'll help you set up those phones, because this is the new way of doing business. Lloyd and I saw on TV a year ago, January, a millionaire that had lost it all 3 times. He lost it all. He got rid of everything. January 2015, he said, I'm on a mission to go see if I can make another million with this. And he did. That's all he had. And Lloyd and I looked at each other. We had no idea about Global Rescue Direct or Total Care. No idea. But I knew it was just a matter of finding the right thing. Our maps are on here. Now my doctor is on here. You see what I'm saying? My phone is on here. If I want to have food brought in here, I can get my food on here, and it'll be here in about 15 minutes, and I'll pay $3 for it. You see, we are a now society and a convenient society. And it's wonderful that now our access to our health care is right here in our hand. Okay? So, those 2 apps, and the My Global Rescue is the app that's going to help you with getting the care you need. But the Global Rescue Direct is the piece that is your back office, your business piece on your phone. Okay? You will be able to decipher, as a leadership council, you will decipher between corporate and leadership council, GBOs like you and I in the field, and many of you are going to be up here someday where I am, because those are the kind of people that wake up at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning to come to training. You're the leaders, okay? The leadership, our stuff, GBO stuff, will be gray background, just like our application has a gray background, okay? That's Global Rescue Direct GBOs. The black will be corporate. Okay, it's kind of an unsung thing, so when things come across and it has a black background, coming from corporate. If it comes with a gray background, like your Sunday night trainings or Saturday trainings, it's going to have a gray background. Okay? So, At the end of the day, every one of these tools are going to help you not become the message. Remember, you are the messenger. That's it. Okay? Hello, and welcome back. Our first Saturday Global Business Owner Business Training had a small live streaming glitch. So in order to help you maximize your learning experience, we've chosen to re-record. There may be some duplication in what I'm going to cover, but it shouldn't hurt you. I hope you'll grab a pen and a piece of paper and join us, because now we're going to begin talking. My very favorite portion of the whole training is how to effectively talk to people. One thing that I would like to encourage each of you is to understand the conversation with yourself prior to talking to people. You know, if there were one thing that I could teach you, this conversation has everything to lead to success when you say, I am interested in you. Not trying to be interesting, but truly interested in the consumer. Truly interested in your prospect or your customer. People are always afraid of saying the wrong thing, or maybe looking stupid, or not knowing something, afraid of what people are going to think about them. But if you will always put in your mind that I am interested in you, you can maintain the fact that you will never say the wrong thing. So always keep it about the person whom you're talking to. Your heart and your mind and your eyes are going to convey your message before it ever comes out of your mouth. We all know when someone's being a fast-talking salesman, and we all tend to run from them. I think you would agree. If you pay attention to your customer or prospect's need, want, or desire, then there is absolutely no way that you can say the wrong thing. It's impossible, because if your mind is trying to do the right thing, you're going to say the right thing. Very important thought right there. But by contrast, if you have in the mind the amount of money you're going to make, or getting somebody in, or one of those MLM gimmicks, just sign them up, line them up, sign them up, don't worry, that will be conveyed, and inevitably you're going to say the wrong thing. Here are what I believe to be the 6 necessities to be successful when talking with people. The first one is greeting your prospect. The purpose of greeting your prospect is getting them to talk openly and freely with you, conversing back and forth, knocking down that barrier and that wall so that they feel comfortable. They're not feeling like you're a vulture swarming them, trying to just hone in and snag them. People sense it. Put yourself in every position, okay? The second thing, the qualifying your prospect is where you are determining what their need and want is, like they told you when you greeted them. But that's where you're going to find out what their need and want is, and how it pertains to you and your business and the solution that you're bringing. Remember, we've talked many times about being solution-oriented, not sales-oriented. The third way is invite your prospect. That's where you invite your prospect to get on a Zoom meeting with you, or invite them to review additional information that is going to help them achieve what they've conveyed to you that they want, okay, when they told you what they wanted in the qualify step. The fourth thing is going to be to handle their questions and objections. I have to tell you, the concept of not answering a question, or leaving someone to just go watch a video, or to point them to something else and something else without directly answering their question, couldn't be further from what I do or what I believe. Let me ask you, do you like to be put off and avoided? Doesn't that send you a subliminal message that maybe they don't know, or maybe there's something they're hiding? That's what answering their questions and objections does. And when you're brand new, you probably don't have those answers. Back to our tools that we talked about, that's where working with your sponsor, your mentor, on a 3-way call, or a 2-on-1, or a 1-on-1 meeting is very, very valuable. And the 5th way is a close to action. The close to action step is where you're going to conclude and bring into existence the very thing that happened in the second one of qualifying when you found their need, want, and desire. That's where you're going to close them to action to say, let's do this. Let's jump on a Zoom meeting. Let's look and see what we might be able to save you in time or even money. Okay, once they've given you that information, it makes closing them to action very, very simple. And then the sixth and final step is the follow-up step. Now, I'm going to go more into the follow-up at a later section of the training, but the whole purpose of the follow-up is to get your prospect and convert them toward getting what they want, not what you want. Very, very important step. So as you can see, greet them, qualify them, invite them to get information or more information. Also, handle their questions and objections, close them to action, and then follow up. Now, I'm going to teach you some of the steps that Lloyd and I have used very effectively to begin to talk to people. And like we've talked about, there is a book that I want to recommend to each one of you that you begin to investigate and above all read. This was an epiphany for me back in 2004. When I first ordered the book, I was at a juncture in my business, in my former life, where I was trying to figure out, do I lead with the business or do I lead with the service? And it was always a toggle. You know, I would go to various conventions and trade school or schools and try to learn. And the more I studied and studied, the more I realized at the end of the day, this business is about customers. I'm not selling a business. I'm selling a service called Total Care. And I want you to put yourself in your customer or prospect's position. Or let's just say you work for a telecommunications company and you walk into that person's home and you're going to be installing, say, their home system. And the whole time you're there, they're thinking you're focused on installing their phone system. But you, with an ulterior motive, are thinking, I need this person to find me more homes that I can go install their service into. They're not at all thinking that way. And so as you're there that whole time and all you keep hammering or hearing from them, all you keep hearing is that, hey, maybe you can call your friends and your family and you can tell them about what I'm doing here at your house and I'll go do it at their house and you and I both can make money. How's that going to make you feel? Are you going to feel a little bit used or deceived, or you're going to think of them as maybe being quite needy? Most likely so. I know I might. So this approach that Lloyd and I use on how to talk to people breaks all of those barriers down from the very beginning. The first thing we do, we get them talking openly and freely, just like I told you. Get them to open up. Get them comfortable with me. It doesn't matter where I am. I can be in Costco. I can be in the grocery store. I can be at Walgreens. I can be at a football game. It doesn't matter. All of us, as we go through our day and our life, we meet people, okay? The first thing that we say is we market a service. Why do I say we market a service? Because by saying that, I have told them I make money at what I do. So I don't have to be like the telecommunications guy that's in the home, the example I gave you, and trying to be sneaky and conniving and suave about what I'm doing, okay? So now I'm going to go into the script, or it's a generalization. It's not exact verbatim, and neither will yours be, okay? I want you to understand that there's no script that sounds natural if it's not coming from the heart. There are components of the script that are going to be very, very, very helpful to you, all right? I said in step 1, remember, by the time I even mention anything, I have my customer, my potential prospect, openly and freely talking to me. And by that point, I can then begin to introduce what I do. I market a service with my husband for people who, like us, are looking for immediate, high-quality access to healthcare at a price they can afford to pay. My gosh, what it did for us was profound. We went from just over $1,100 a month to just under $260 a month. Do you know anybody that maybe could use a service like that? By asking that last question, I've just brought the barrier down because they don't feel like I'm talking to them. I'm asking them about people they may know. And many times I get the response, yeah, I want to know. It's me. I could use that. How did you do that? What is it? When they ask that question, that takes me into step 2. Then I call them by their name. Remember, I know them. I might say, Lynn, oh my gosh, it's a service called Total Care. Have you heard about it? Then, once again, remember, we're talking openly and freely, and Lynn is going to say, no, what is Total Care? You and I know that they've not heard about it because we're so early. We're first, okay? Then I would say, oh my, not only did we save a lot of money with Total Care, we save a ton of time. Basically, Total Care is my urgent care clinic right here in the palm of my hand. And then I say, well, let me just show you real quick. So I pick up my cell phone and I tap my app and I begin to show them how simple it is. Right here, I just tap that button, sinus infection, 100-degree fever, tap it, and within 2 to 3 minutes, I'm being contacted back. That's how simple. So Lynn, I just basically have converted, instead of having to waste time getting an appointment, getting into the appointment, and spending 7 to 8 minutes with a doctor, holy buckets, it's right here, tap an app on my cell phone. Do you know anybody who could use anything like this? You see, I'm not looking just to her, but by this point, most likely it impacts her as well as it does some of the other people that she knows. And calling her by her first name has once again put us on a person-to-person basis. What is most likely going to be the next question? Yes, you're probably guessing it. What does it cost? That's my very favorite. You know, Global Rescue Direct is really profound in this regard because the price is so affordable, so convenient, and also impacts every single person in the world, as we well know by now. So I say to her, I said, well, we have several options. Most people tend to gravitate toward our family option. Lynn, are you married or are you an individual? If she tells me she's an individual, I go that route. If she tells me she is a family, I say, you're going to love our family price. A family of 8, $390 a year. At that point, I say to her, Lynn, you know what? I am so glad you asked, and I'm so glad we met. I think I might be able to sum it up really quick where you can see the numbers in terms of savings that I might be able to create for you if you can spare 10 minutes sometime this evening. I know right now it's about 3:30 in the afternoon and you're headed to pick up your children, but would maybe 8 or 8:30 tonight after dinner work well for you? And let's jump on the computer and I'll send you a link to your email address, and I will provide that link, and you and I can get eyeball to eyeball, you in your home, I'm in my home, and I think in about 10 minutes you'll see it, and then you can make a decision and I can make a decision. Does that work well for you? You see, it's been non-threatening. I'm not looking for her to jump into my business. I've never mentioned my business yet, okay? When we get on the meeting that we have scheduled, at that point, when I'm showing her the prices, that's when I will say, for $50 a year, Lynn, if you choose like me and you want to tell somebody about it as you go through your life and get referral fees, it's just $50 difference. And you can make that decision at any point. You don't have to do that tonight, but just keep that in mind. If you ever want to get the referral fees from anybody you choose to tell, great. But let's go ahead and get you started, Lynn, because I know that you are going to never look back because you've made an awesome decision, because nobody can dispute business, time, and money are all being saved and made right here in the palm of our hand. Now, let me ask any one of you, are any of you feeling threatened by that approach or embarrassed to take that to your friends and to your family? That's what we're trying to accomplish. A high quality delivery of an extraordinarily needed and high quality service. And so why do we cheapen it, trying to trick people into doing our business? Let me confirm what I'm saying. You know the book that I mentioned to you when we were talking? The name of the book, and I may be repeating it because of this re-recording, but I want to make certain you get it. The name of the book is called If My Product Is So Great, How Come I Can't Sell It? It's by Kim Claver. I encourage every one of you to read it and to get it. I've had this book for 11 years. This book is profound. And I'm going to turn to page 169 and begin to prove my point. It says, the good news about a lot of happy customers is this. Among them are a few who love it so much they will ask you how to make it available to others. What if that happens every now and then? Isn't it better every now and then than never because you're overdoing it? You bet it is. Let me read to you a profound statement and take this one to the bank. Most companies with established service or product lines say that for every 100 regular customers they have, 2 or 3 also sell the product or service. Did you hear me? That's 2 or 3%, not 20, 30, 40, or 50%. I know in my former life, I've earned tremendous money by a lot of people taking a little bit of product. Remember, many top distributors or GBOs are going to start off as your happy customers. Now let me continue reading by a former millionaire with a multi-level marketing company. And once he tapped into this mindset, here's what happened for him. I'm not going to say his name because we're not in the business of promoting his business. A network marketer of many, many years who achieved the top level in his company is now telling his people the same thing that I just told you. Here is his letter he emailed to his group of thousands of network marketers on September 30th, 2003. He entitled the email, Confession, I Was Wrong. Here are the excerpts from that letter. Dear family and team, I must confess I've been wrong. I believe for many years that the smartest and fastest way to help the most people in our company reach the most people and make the most money was by looking primarily and targeting the entrepreneur, or what we often refer to in this industry as the business builder. I believed that it was almost a waste of time to find customers. Here is why I now believe I was wrong. The undeniable fact is that 100% of my volume, just like all of our volumes in Global Rescue Direct, and yours too, is from consumers. Consumers contain all business builders and all customers. Of that 100% volume, probably less than 1% is from people who order strictly because they are in this for a business and the money potential. 1%. I have promoted the idea that everyone should be focused primarily on recruiting people into the business. So what is wrong with that? By telling everyone that they need to sell the business to everyone, I have basically disempowered almost everyone because very few are comfortable or effective at selling the business. How are you feeling about right now? I bet you're feeling a whole lot more comfortable. If you, at the end of the day, could focus only on the consumer and the value that the consumer gets, and you make money by offering that consumer high value total care service, I bet it gives you the ability to do this. Can you take that message to the world a whole lot easier than I've got a business and I'm selling a business? I know you can, because I feel the same way. I'm you. I don't like to feel unnatural or pushy or make someone feel that I'm being that way. I really want to make a difference before I make a dollar. That's how I've built the life I've built. Lloyd and I both feel very strongly about that. And I want to encourage you to embrace it as well. And finally, here's his last sentence. What people are comfortable with is talking about the service and what the service has done for them or those they know. Isn't that you? You better believe it is. I've been at this for 16, almost 17 years. And I can tell you right now, your 2017 will look totally different if you will listen to what I'm saying. We're on a quest. Now I'm going to keep moving through the training. But once again, if my service is so great, or in this case, if my product is so great, then how come I can't sell it by Kim Claver? Grab this book. It's probably on Amazon, and it will change your life and your business, and you're going to find a script very similar being constructed, instruction by instruction, in this book. I don't want you to wait a year or 2 years and have to come back and play this training, all to realize Denise was right. Please leverage off of my experience. Please. So now I'm going to begin to move into the key to success. And as we read the screen, I want you to understand that the quote that I'm fixing to read you is so true. And the highlighted area is what I want you to focus on. There have now been studies of elite performers, international violinists, chess grandmasters, professional ice skaters, and the list goes on. And the biggest difference researchers find between those that are lesser performers and those that perform to a very high degree is the cumulative amount of deliberate practice they've had. Okay? Those baseball players that hit home runs, it's not because they got up to the plate one time. The multi-level marketing success stories don't just happen because they talk to one person. It's happened over time. And the most important talent may be the talent for practice itself. Showing up to batting practice for the baseball player, or getting out to events that have a lot of people in them and beginning to talk to people in these events about your service and what you do, using the script or one similar to that I showed you on the previous screen. At the end of the day, the key here is to do it over and over and over and over and over and over. And can I say it one more time? And over. That's the key, guys. There's nothing magical about it. It is caring about people and delivering a solution, not a sale, to the person. So now I want to switch gears and begin to talk about follow-up. Follow-up is key. The 70% of people buy a service or a product to solve a problem. Not to get into a business, not to make a sale, to solve a problem. This is huge. 30% buy into something to gain something. That would be they get in a business or they invest in something to get a bigger gain than what they invest. Look at those numbers. Roughly 2.5 times solve a problem. That's what we do. So if we switch from being sellers to problem solver, we're going to hit it big, because that's what Total Care does. It solves a problem. We have 3 problems that Doug did a brilliant job of talking about. Quality is solved, access is solved, and cost is solved. We solve 3 things that are so huge and freely advertised by every news media every day for the last how long? 8 years? I'm just saying. Here's the problem though. The average number of follow-ups, this is company-wide, this is industry-wide, are 2. We follow up 2 times and then we discount them as though they're just useless, that they no longer matter. The reason they no longer matter is because you and I, have failed to stay with them long enough that they can see our solution is maybe changing over time with them. Their needs are changing, their circumstances are changing, and we're right there in their back pocket. Let me give you my case in point. I talked to my daughter-in-law right when we found out about Global Rescue Direct. That was June. It wasn't until about 10 days ago she got a bill in the mail on what her insurance was going up by, and it was close to $300 a month. And she said to me, Denise, this just makes me want to cuss. I said, well, instead of resorting to dirty words, let's resort to a solution. So that's when she became a GBO. You see, her needs changed over time. I kept telling her casually about it and then would move away from it. Tell her a story of one of your stories that I hear on one of the calls or in my own organization. And over time, she began to evaluate and see. Now here's what's really awesome. Now, she just got married and her husband is beginning to see how it can be a solution to her whole family. So, back to, if we are doing an average number of 2 follow-ups, look at how many times it takes to follow up with some when 80% of the closes occur after 5 follow-ups. So I encourage you to stick in there and stay with people. Don't quit on them. They'll quit on you well before you quit on them. But you're going to be there when the timing is right in their life, not when you and your timing dictate what they need, want, or desire. Here's the key. The fortune is in the follow-up. I can't stress to you how many people hop in here, hop out, hop here, hop out, hop in this and hop out. Do you want to be considered a hopper or do you want to be a sticker and a stayer? You stay true to this thing and it's going to take you light years ahead of where you are as people begin to associate you with a solver of their problem in healthcare quality, access, and cost. Now, I want to talk and teach you about Global Rescue Direct and upcoming events and understanding what event is coming and how it may help you. On Sunday evenings, Global Rescue Direct GBOs, persons like myself and other Leadership Council members host a Sunday evening training call. Our goal here is to help empower you and give you tidbits of knowledge to help you overcome some of the hurdles as you're building a business. You can basically kind of look at us as a mentor. We've only gotten up to the plate more times than you have, but that's not to say that you can't get up to the plate and be bigger, faster, and stronger than any one of us. I'm going to step out there and say the leaders in this company have yet to join Global Rescue Direct. That's a pretty profound statement. They're coming, but we're going to empower and teach you on Sunday evenings very consistently at 7:30 Mountain Time, so make certain that you adjust the time zone to be appropriate for where you live. The next opportunity is Tuesday. Global Rescue Direct is very committed to your success as well as mine. They offer a Tuesday corporate call, and that call is at noon Mountain Standard Time. Every call that comes from corporate is centered around that Mountain Standard time zone because our corporate office is in Salt Lake City, Utah. So making certain, once again, that you make the time zone adjustment to appropriately hit the time. And keep in mind, if you can't catch either of one of those calls live, become familiar and program it in your cell phone, the playback number, so that you can grasp the training at 6 o'clock at night, at midnight, or 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever works best for you. Also, there are upcoming events, global business owner trainings going on around the United States. This is your top leadership getting out here, trying to convey to you the tools that they have used, the system that they have used to teach you and train you so that you don't have to take as long to learn it on your own. Okay? There's great value in a mentorship. For example, if you work at a facility and I join your company, they're most likely going to partner me with somebody that knows the ropes and the system. That's what we do here at Global Rescue Direct. That's the focus of the Global Business Owner trainings on Saturday. These aren't talking heads. These are real people that are out every day talking to people, doing what we're sitting here telling you to do. What are we doing? Over and over and over and over. You see, repetition is the mother of all learning. Now here's a challenge that I'm going to conclude the Dallas, Texas training with. And I want to challenge each one of you to take a look deep inside and evaluate your business as it is today. If whether you got in May, June, or July of 2016, or you just joined today, November the 12th, 2016, it doesn't matter. I want you to look at it as a new day at Global Rescue Direct. I want you to take the training that I just told you and focus on the customers and focus on learning those 6 steps that I talked about on how to communicate with them, getting them to openly talk to you about it, finding out what their need, want, and desire is, answering their objections and questions, closing them to action, and doing the follow-up. Remember, it's about them, not you and I. And I can tell you this, if we'll take this action, your 2017 will be set up in a way that you could only imagine. Because remember, like the leader said of the multi-level marketing company that was doing it wrong, your volume is made up of a lot of people using a little bit of that service or that product. In our company, it's a service. So your business will be made up of a lot of people using a little bit of service. So, as we go out, let's focus on making a difference. Let's focus on what it takes to make a difference. I'm going to read this. One of the easiest things to do in life is to live like everyone else, where we never take any chances. We don't try to do things beyond what our current level of comfort and convenience is. We want to keep a simple life. If you want a simple life, that's exactly how you'll be paid, simply. And we never explore new possibilities. Keep working right where you currently work. Keep doing what you are currently doing. And just keep on being the same kind of person you are right now. Guess what? I call that normal, living in familiar. And I can tell you one of the greatest books I ever read was Dream Giver. We're going to dream big here at Global Rescue Direct because we're going to make a big difference in a $4 trillion industry. In other words, don't take any risks, just be what you are and be grateful for it. After all, things could be a whole lot worse. It's like the man who took advice from someone who said, just relax, things could be worse. So the man did just relax and things did get worse. Here's something you can count on. In absence of positive, intelligent, and purposeful human activity, the bugs and weeds of mediocrity and discontent are sure to move in. They will ultimately take over your garden, and they will frustrate you, and they will defeat you every single time. You will be disappointed, you'll be disgusted, and you will be without any specific desires to turn your disgust toward new paths that are going to lead you to bigger and better results. You see, begin to see the power that one person, that's you, that's me, can have in the multitude of people. We can all make a difference if we'll all each dream about making that difference. But dreams alone are a narcotic, an anesthetic that can lead us to believe that somehow things are just magically going to get better. Well, they won't, at least not until you get better, and you won't get any better until you decide to jump on an idea and a dream and an opportunity and go to work and make a difference. That's when your reality will begin to change. We talk about massive action solves all problems, put me to the test and take my challenge I'm fixing to give you. Making a difference requires that you take some risks, and that scares most people. Unfortunately, scared people end up on Social Security with very little else to show for a lifelong of effort other than a birth certificate, a grave marker, and over $1 million in consumed goods and services as the only final evidence of their ever existence. You see, it takes a risk to move from existence to significance. Let's start a new journey today toward a better life by accepting the fact that you have to be willing to risk going very far in order to discover just how far you can go. To be a difference maker, you must first be a risk taker. If you see yourself achieving extraordinary things here at Global Rescue Direct, we do, because we understand what we have our hands on. You have to be willing, though, to risk going so far in order to discover just how far you really can go. You must remember that by seeing the end, you have all the means necessary to make that end a reality. If you didn't, you would have never had that dream in the first place, would you? Become a difference maker with us, and don't wait any longer. Let's get busy. Remember, we're part of a revolution. We're not just part of status quo. We're not just part of accepting what's handed to us. We are part of something so big called Global Rescue Direct, whose express purpose is to make a difference in people's lives, and that also includes your life. Don't let it be said that Global Rescue Direct thought more of your potential and possibilities than you did. It's very rewarding to know that you're a difference maker. And I love this quote, because each one of us, you and I, are only one. I may be only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I can't do everything, I will not refuse to do something that I can do. And I can take the Global Rescue Direct Total Care message to a world that is saying, please help me. The elephant is choking me. So that's what I will do. And in closing, here's the challenge. 100 customers in 100 days. So what if you end up with 50? What's your 2017 look like? So what you end up with 70? Who cares? And who's keeping score? But if you don't have a goal, you have a wish. That's all you have. And at the end of the day, I hope for every one of you that you understand that one person on one day changed one man, which led to one family, and that is Lloyd and Denise Stevens. Somebody changed our life in this industry in February of 2000. And as we enter our 17th year of the industry, 16 of them full-time at home. Don't tell me there's not a world out there looking for it. Please adopt to your level the script that we gave you, and let's work together to accomplish 100 customers in 100 days, and do not be surprised if some of them don't join you in your business. You create the success, and your team will come with you. I know that. I've done that. At the end of the day, I hope you build a great career here, a walk-away income that will impact your children, your grandchildren, and future generations. Because we can no longer depend on big government or big industry, big insurance industry, to solve what we at Global Rescue Direct are going to solve on a daily basis, right here in the palm of our hand, 24/7, 365. From Dallas, Texas, good night, everybody, and God bless.